First session is delving into the true essence of Delhi, not merely as a national capital, but as a vibrant tapestry of art, culture, and timeless heritage. Especially in today's digital era, social media has become a powerful force, you all know, shaping and amplifying the city's ever-evolving identity and cultural heritage to a global audience. So to build a conversation on the theme, Delhi as an art, cultural heritage, and hub, role of social media in particular, we have an incredible panel of speakers. Let me take the pleasure of introducing them to you and make you familiar with their diverse areas of work and accomplishments. So I'm delighted to welcome first Dr. Swapna Liddle. She's a renowned historian and author of several books on Delhi. She seeks to raise awareness about history and heritage through walks, talks, as well as mainstream and social media. Ms. Sneha Chakraborty, she's an award-winning travel artist. She's also the first Indian to exhibit AR plus NFT art in a gallery and also a TEDx speaker. Ms. Sukhneett Wadhwa, she's a luxury and fashion content creator. She has over a decade of experience in the creator economy. She's represented India on a global stage at the Paris Fashion Week and has been recognized as India's first recipient of the Cosmopolitan Blogger Award. She's more popularly and widely known as mscocoqueen. You all know she has a fan following of over 2 lakh followers on Instagram. I forgot to mention Ms. Sneha Chakraborty also has over 1 lakh followers on Instagram. Ms. Anuradha Kumar Jain, she's a writer based in New Delhi. Her lifelong love of natural world motivated her into getting a PhD in geography, and which has culminated in the book Delhi, a Nature Journal, which records the changing seasons in an urban landscape. She's received great reviews for this book. She's a free-spirited and sensitive to issues relating to gender and the marginalized. And her first book, Written on the Wind, is a powerful story of the 2 strong-willed women based in pre-partition Lahore, which also received much acclaim. A lot of us have read that book, so in case you want to grab a copy and get it signed from the author, you feel free to do so after this session. This stellar panel, ladies and gentlemen, will be moderated by Mr. Arun Thapar. He's a media veteran, a creator, commissioner, and executive producer of award-winning documentaries and shows for some of India's most respected media brands. He currently leads all things related to content, creative, and marketing communications for History TV 18. So please welcome our speakers on stage with a huge round of applause.
Is it possible to adjust the lights? Otherwise, people will be closing their eyes through the session. Thank you. Come here. Well, I think we should kick this off without further delay. I think we're already running behind. Thanks very much to the audience for making it here on a particularly stormy, warm morning. And of course, that's had its cascading effect on the schedule. We've already been introduced to our wonderful panelists, and I think Delhi as a political country, as a political hub of this country, may be lagging behind as far as its politics is concerned and gender diversity is concerned, but I think on this panel particularly, there's an adequate representation of women, and I think fittingly so, considering Delhi has just elected a woman chief minister. So thanks very much, all of you, for being here today. It's a very interesting subject, and I think quite appropriate to kick off the Delhi Literature Festival. The subject matter that we're going to have a quick chat about is the role of Delhi as a hub of heritage, art, and culture, and the role of social media in promoting it or building it as this hub. And I think that's pretty much a focus and agenda of the new government as well, to develop it. Of course, many of us would agree that before we get started on those, it's quite important to sort out the basic issues like waterlogging. We have the NDMC represented here. So, starting with you, Dr. Liddle, I mean, you've written extensively about Delhi in your book, The Broken Script, and it's about India as well as Delhi particularly, with the coming of the British and the last years of the Mughal Empire. How do you see Delhi as a hub of heritage and culture and art, and how does the changing power dynamics influence it being a hub over the centuries?
Actually, most of the heritage bit actually comes in my other books, like Chandni Chowk and Connaught Place, though that's where I really talk about the heritage bit. But power, Delhi as a power, I think to the extent that everybody is interested in Delhi, everybody is drawn to Delhi, people come to Delhi from all over the place and come here and try and find something meaningful to themselves in this place. Just the fact that we are such a huge city of very, very diverse people who've come from all over the place, right? So I think that's what has made it challenging also, first of all, because for people to find roots here is difficult. They often don't find roots here. So in that case, very often people identify with the heritage of a place because they think they belong here. But as far as Delhi is concerned, people have to find that meaning. And I think a lot of that meaning can be found through culture, through the heritage, etc. So I think to that extent, maybe in that way, there is the role of culture is important, the role of heritage is important.
Right, but if you look at history and the history of Delhi, obviously, you have the Harappan civilization and connections some would find with the Iron Age that you find evidence of archaeologically in Delhi. And then, of course, there are those scholars who believe that the land of Indraprastha was this particular area in Delhi. And then, of course, it became a capital sometime in the 8th century under the Tomars, and then after the Rajputs came the Mamelukes, and then the Afghans and the Mughals, and then, of course, the British, and in the middle there was the Marathas as well. So in a sense, Delhi has always attracted, quote-unquote, people from outside the city. And each brought their own flavor, their own history, their own culture, their own art, and we pretty much encounter it at every street corner. Do you think, therefore, that Delhi really has a rightful place for being a hub because it's such an incredible melting point of these cultures and art and history?
Yes, in that sense, Delhi is quite different from a lot of other places. In fact, a lot of our very big metropolises like, what used to be the presidency towns in the British era, Kolkata, Mumbai, Chennai, as they are much more parochial in that sense, right? Delhi is much more cosmopolitan today than these other places sometimes. Of course, Mumbai is very cosmopolitan, but Delhi is one step further. And Delhi has always been like that because it is, first of all, it was on a major crossroads also, a trade crossroads from very ancient times. So that, of course, made a difference. But also the fact that it has been a capital means that there will be people who will come from outside. So that goes without saying. But social media, today's time is a very different time. It's a different time from even the time that I first started out in the heritage space.
Right. So there's this perfect way to segue into social media, and we have Sukhneett here with us, Miss Cocoqueen. How do you see Delhi, and how does it find its way, or does it at all find its way into the way you create your social media content?
Wow, I've always been in Delhi. I'm a girl born and brought up in Delhi. So for me, Delhi is home, and I've seen it change it so much because of digital media. It's more like a open gallery for me now. You know, where I used to go to Delhi monuments as probably a visit from school, or probably my cousins are over and we do our weekend visits to monuments. From that to now, exploring alleys and lanes and monuments and using it as a background for shoots, for doing modern styling. I can tell it's all about storytelling for me now. Now, social media gave me, as a Delhi girl, a medium to tell my story about my Delhi. I could just tell a 3,000-old story in just 30 seconds. So for me, I've made what we were talking about, how Delhi attracts people from outside, that has become multifold, because now I'm reaching to a wider audience and telling it in a way, okay, I get it, digital is all about virality, you make, memes and make it fun. With culture and heritage, of course, we need to add that substance. But yes, of course, I mean, I think I reach out, I made my Delhi more open, vibrant, and exciting.
How do you respond to that, Anuradha ji? You're a storyteller with this wonderful book on Delhi that you've written, and of course one on Lahore, really about migrating communities and individuals and how it upends their lives. How do you see storytelling, and how do you think you can tell the story of Delhi through social media?
You know, where social media is concerned, when I was growing up and we were children, in school or college, the only way you interacted with a monument was either through books, or you had these grainy photographs which really didn't show the monument, or if you were lucky, your parents took you, or you went with cousins and saw a monument. Now, I feel that with the coming of social media and these young girls here and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, though I'm not very, my children tell me you are technologically handicapped, mom, so I'm not the best. But I find that it has become a more immersive experience for me, and not just for Delhi, for anywhere in the world. Now I can climb the stairs to Machu Picchu in Peru, and feel I'm there. So social media has made storytelling more immersive. It has involved the community. It has made it easier to be a part of the heritage. It becomes a sort of a living monument then for me. So I think that it has had a positive impact on it.
Fantastic. The interesting thing about this panel, of course, is multi-generational. We've got Gen Alpha represented here, millennial, as well as us Gen X folks. So that's great to sort of get the entire perspective of how heritage and history is viewed by one set of people and how it's evolving in the age of social media. Over to you, Miss Chakraborty. You are a muralist, and the streets of India and its buildings are your open canvas.
Yes,
and I've seen some of your work. It's absolutely wonderful. Delhi's had its own art project as well, where a lot of the buildings were painted, particularly in the Lodi estate area. How do you see storytelling in art, and how do you think you can tell a city's story really in art, and how does it find its way into your social media?
Thanks to my parents, I think my father ingrained this in me because he's a nomad himself. So since childhood, I have learned how to travel, not to be a tourist, but be a traveler. We used to go to different places and we would meet passerbys, on streets, we would just talk to them. My father would talk to them. We'd end up going to their house and eat with them. So to learn someone's culture, it's very important to know how they eat, their language, what they wear, where they come from, and their story. So since childhood, because I've traveled to so many places and I've lived in so many different states, I've changed so many different schools, I understood we are all so different and yet we are so similar. We're very similar people. At the end of the day, what you want is what I want. Ingrained, the primary source is that. So when I became an artist, I wanted to showcase that. I wanted to showcase that we are so similar, but our language is different. And I wanted to show that on the walls of streets. So I'd go to all these people, I'd talk to them and I'd paint their stories on the wall. I did that in Kochi, I did that in Rajasthan, I did that in Delhi. And it gives me immense joy to do that because through my perspective, I'm getting to tell that story. And yeah, I think that's what art does. It is storytelling at the end of the day.
And how do you leverage social media to tell that?
Yeah,
Is it just to popularize your own content? Because there's an aspect of self-indulgence and, of course, it's a personal device, but content creators can also get a little self-indulgent when they create their content and think a little narrow rather than broad. Do you think social media has a role to play to tell a larger story about a larger people or place or community? Or is it just about the individual creator?
It's both. It's both. You have to be an individual in order to create a community on social media. If I don't know what I want to share, I won't be able to create that community. 7 years back when I started Let's Be Canvas, which is a community that me and my brother built together, we made sure that we know what we are trying to share, and then we would bring new artists together. So social media has helped me empower that. It is a great platform. I think social media is like a mic for me. It's my platform where I can talk and where people can listen, and then I can listen back. I can hear their stories as well. So if used in the right manner, social media is a very strong platform for artists. You know, it's been 70 years now since we got our freedom and we were in survival mode. We were learning how to walk. Now we know how to walk. We are trying to learn how do we want to walk now? What is our style of walking? This is where artists come in. We talk about what is your walking style? How do you want to walk? How do you want to represent yourself? And that's where social media comes in. So the way where I share my story and the way they share, like how you share your story, I'm going to learn a lot from you, and vice versa, right? So if used the right manner, it is a great platform.
Sukhneett, go on.
When you said it's more like a skewed small goal, more like an individual, from where I see it, I think digital has made it very seamless. You know, you can put art, culture, heritage, daily life so seamlessly together that it may come through as a skewed goal, like a personal goal for the creator. But I think we plant so much curiosity. If today I put up something which might look like just a small vision, but it reaches out so many people that the curiosity just explodes in a way people want to come and see it. So we talk about people trying to experience that, like how you said that it's more about experiencing it. So we bring it to life.
And how would you like to tell the story through your platform?
See, when we put a story, it's more visual. We try to reach it in a way which is, it's not a history book which you can just read. We on Instagram make it a little more, make it alive, right? So if I'm trying to tell a story, I will give it through my perspective, how I see it. Now my followers will probably teach me and tell me how they see it. So the conversation starts. I know it starts from somewhere, but you never know where it reaches, and it reaches a lot more people.
Right. Well, we have a historian in our midst. And what you were saying earlier to me, that there are limits to what social media can and cannot do.
So, I'm not going to go into the history bit of it, because that is a very complicated thing. And it's difficult. I mean, it's, again, I understand that people on social media are not trying to be historians. So I'm going to put aside that question right away. I am going to talk about the heritage aspect, because that's what I think we do need to talk about. And I think my experience is having come into the heritage space as somebody, so I've been involved with for many years, I've now volunteered for an organization which serves to protect heritage, right? INTAC, the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage. And even before I joined INTAC, I was leading heritage walks. So now for almost 30 years, I've been leading heritage walks in Delhi. So that is something that I have great experience with, and I've seen it change in the era of social media. What has happened is that we found the social media space very useful in doing things like popularizing heritage walks. So when I started doing heritage walks, our main aim used to be to raise questions. First of all, educate the people who lived in the city about the place they live in, what is the history of it, what are these monuments, and then of course together with that also try and promote the need to protect heritage sites. And because our aim was to draw the attention to places that were probably not that well known, we used to take we still do it. INTAC still does it, and I still do walks with INTAC. And we go to these somewhat offbeat places. We go to places which may not be very attractive. And that's why I want to emphasize this. Maybe, there are things that work for social media, which social media, I find, and I'm not saying this is true of everybody, but a lot of it is focused on the pretty image, and therefore the focus on going to places that are attractive, not necessarily places that are historically significant necessarily or architecturally significant, much less places which may be in danger of getting encroached, getting, disappearing altogether sometimes, which used to be our focus, which is not to make a pretty picture. It also, to an extent, it affects how we reimagine our spaces also. I think that a lot of beautification projects that happen today in the city, beautifying monuments, lighting up monuments, all that, I think that's a response to the pressures of social media to be able to take good pictures, to be able to take a nice drone shot, to be able to take nice selfies, the pressure that is there in society for things to look pretty.
Is that good or bad?
It is good and bad. It is good to the extent that it draws people to go and see these sites and hopefully engage with them and have an opinion on how they should be managed, etc. But taken too far, I think we don't sometimes question things like if you are lighting up the Qutub Minar, are you drilling holes to put wires in 800-year-old stone pieces? Are you redeveloping a particular area in such a way that it takes good pictures, but people's experience on the ground when it comes to using it, or the people who are living there, it's not quite that great for them? So these kind of things are there. I think we should look at what social media is doing.
Sukhneett, how do you respond to that? Because beautification is pretty much what a fashion Instagrammer would do, right?
Instagram-worthy spots. No, I absolutely agree to what you said. We flock people to a place and they might just leave it dirty or damage it further, right? Those things come in parcel, and I think that's something which every country in the world would be facing. Everyone in this world wants to travel and explore. Like you said, you might not have been to a destination, but you see it and live it through it. I think our Delhi deserves to be that beautiful. It's a culture, it's so rich, that richness actually needs to be taken care of. I know drilling holes is bad, but just the taking care of it is needed. My Delhi was better than this, right? And it needs to be shown to the world and kept beautiful and fresh and alive.
And that's where the natural spaces come in. And I'll segue to you, Anuradha. Do you see Delhi as naturally beautiful? What do you think needs to be done, and how do you think social media can help?
Contrary to popular belief, Delhi is not just all, built up spaces and high rises and malls. It's a very pretty city. It's a beautiful city. It has these wide tree-lined avenues. It has parks. It has, nature reserves around it. It has well-tended gardens. It's a very pretty city. I think we need to change our perspective to how we look at it. And we need to pause a minute and appreciate it, Like in our hurried lives, I'll give you an example. Like whenever my husband and I are traveling in Delhi, one is always caught in one of those, almost mandatory traffic jams. So he'll start cribbing. He'll start grumbling and he'll say, this is terrible, kitni der ho gayi, we should have taken another route, the government does nothing about it. He'll keep cribbing. And I'll tell him that, look, there's a barbet on the tree outside. Just look at the tree, there's a barbet, or there's a cloud floating, by. And just change your perspective. Nazariya badal ke dekho. It's a beautiful city and it's a nice place to live. And I think that some part of the beautification effect because of social media, I might agree to. But there is something I would like to reply to what you said. When I was living in Madhya Pradesh for many years, and there were these gorgeous small monuments in not well-known places, and they had these murals and paintings and all. And invariably, they were damaged because the local children or whoever would paint over them or just take home some souvenirs. And I used to wonder, how can I help? Is there any way that, we can do something about it? Because it's a small place, obscure place. But today, if it was today, then maybe I could have put a picture of it on Instagram and made one of those catchy hashtags my kids would have made and raised awareness about it, that this needs to be saved. So I think I would agree with you that there are both sides to the social media that has taken place. And to come back to nature, I do think Delhi is a beautiful city. There's no doubt about it.
Right, and you tell stories and through your art, how do you think or how do you see Delhi as a city? I mean, you say you're of no fixed address or an urban nomad. How do you see Delhi as a city, and particularly with reference to its, heritage as well as its, natural features and its art? Do you see a lot of that in public spaces? Would you like to see more, and how do you think social media will help?
Every time you say my Delhi, I feel that, because somewhere it's my Delhi too, and it's your Delhi too. We all have our own version of Delhi. Delhi gave me place when I didn't have a place to go. I was here during my lowest period of time, and Delhi held me then and kept me here quietly and nicely. I also learned a lot about art because of Delhi. I know that right now, whatever the situation is, Delhi, this is the 7th time Delhi is the capital, right? So it has been through a lot, it has seen a lot, and we have a lot of stories everywhere in Delhi. Everywhere you go, you find something. You find a monument, you find something. As an artist, it's very important to capture that. It's very important to frame that in my head and take that away, put it in my version wherever I am now sharing. So for me, Delhi is everything. There's so many different facades and so many different ways to see Delhi. And I think it'll keep, it's a place where everyone comes to. As you said, that it is not rooted that way, but everyone has a place here. So I think it'll always capture a lot of more people and always adapt a lot of more people. And we all will have our own stories to share. And that's what Delhi is for me.
Sukhneett, as a fashion Instagrammer, is there a Delhi style? Because so much of the way we dress and the way we carry ourselves is inextricably linked to, heritage and history and culture. Is there a Delhi wala look?
Wow, I wish I could summarize it in a one Delhi wala look.
Or one post?
You know, like, we are, of course, in the end, we are individuals. Somewhere we reflect our own style and probably our education, our background, where we studied or where we lived or where we traveled. All of that reflects in our personal style. So I don't know if there can be one look, but there can be multiple looks that probably summate it into a Delhi. But I think for a quintessential, for me, if I can talk about myself, I think a nice lehenga or a suit, if I'm picturing it in some Haveli, old Haveli, telling a story about it, which is probably 500 years ago old. So yeah, some nice Indian wear would be my style.
Dr. Liddle, what do you think are the prerequisites for Delhi becoming and truly prospering as a hub of heritage and culture?
You know, we have to remember that a lot of our heritage, and I'm talking now about built heritage, about buildings, some of our best heritage is in private hands. And I'm looking here at people who may be in government, who have influence, people who may be entrepreneurs. We have to realize the huge potential for growth that is there in our heritage. And I'm not talking about monuments here. I'm talking about the Havelis you talk about. You know, what absolutely boggles my mind is that every day Havelis are broken down to make showrooms for the kind of clothes you're talking about. Can you imagine, and you can imagine it because you can imagine those things. If I were told that there is a Haveli in Chandni Chowk, which is a sari shop, let me tell you, I'll go and buy my saris there all the time, rather than going to any other shop. We have not realized the potential that is there in all these heritage spaces to make each of those Havelis, and not just boutique hotels or cultural centers. Make it a sari shop, make it a cafe. You know, there people will come for that. I mean, we are talking about a place where those kind of aesthetics are a selling point. They are an asset. So we are completely underselling our heritage. We don't even appreciate what riches lie there. And that is the way towards community growth and sustainable growth, without knocking those down and building.
And they make beautiful pictures for Instagram
yes,
as well.
of course, that would be lovely. I mean, you know, we forget that is right there in our city, and we are not doing anything with it. Every day these buildings disappear.
How do you respond to that, Anuradha?
I would agree with her totally. You know, like we can make these monuments more meaningful, more alive, and repurpose them without destroying them. She's right, we could make them into a cafe, into a store. We don't need to destroy.
But I think what Dr. Liddle was saying was not just monuments, talking about buildings themselves. A lot of them in private hands.
Yes, and some of them, you know, like in Gwalior where I lived, there is this girls' college, and I went there once, and I honestly think it would be one of the most beautiful buildings I would have seen in my life. Gwalior rulers ki building thi, so after partition it was taken over by the government. So that also has its positive side in the sense that there is a status quo maintained in the government. So it was taken over by the government. So even if they don't polish it and they kept it as it was, you know. They did not, so it was a good way of repurposing a building which might have been torn down. They just made it into a college. So I do think that it is time to look at buildings just, you know, not as old monuments, but something we can engage with even today.
Right. Sukhneett?
I just wanted to say social media has taught us to collaborate, you know. So we could use all the mediums and powers together. Somebody like her can tell us, okay, what is not looking pretty? And we can talk about it. We can talk about concerns. We can tell people what to do, what not to do. So we can collaborate and find places and talk about it. In the end, it's about a small conversation which you can go, you know, viral, or someone's hearing you somewhere. I always say what goes on on the internet always stays on the internet. So if you want to say something, no one should shy to it. Everyone, all artists, everyone's a content creator. So we should use that tool to, in good way.
Well, everyone's a content creator. I think this session has been absolutely wonderful, and I think we've created some pretty decent content. I mean, if you've been seeing it on social media. So thanks very much to all our panelists here, and thank you for the audience once more to make it despite stormy morning. And I think there's a wonderful set of events planned for the rest of the day. We have the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi who will be coming over. We also have the Honorable Culture Minister of India who will be coming over as part of the session. And thanks very much. And I look forward to the rest of the Delhi Literature Festival. Thank you very much.